In our previous videos, we've made this GPS of plant screen where we can take a picture of a plant, and then I also added an edit image screen where we can click this button and we can go to a high level or a more detailed view of the image. In this video, we're going to kind of mock out an image. We're going to throw an image in this screen and we're going to make it editable. This is very similar to the PaintPot application in the book that we're using for this class, the PDF book. So very similar to that. I'm just adapting it for use in this application. For me, in a class like this, I prefer to kind of build one application throughout the entire class with everything related, which is why I'm integrating it here. Now, a lot of times when I use the realplantplaces.com mobile app, I'll take a picture of a plant or maybe a tree, but the trick is it's surrounded by other trees. And there's some photo techniques you can use to kind of highlight one tree over another, but I'd like a way to kind of circle it and maybe add some notes to it on the image. And so that's what we're going to do in this video. So let's start by going to AppInventor. We're going to go to the Edit Photo screen in Designer View. We'll change some things around. There's no need for a redundant label, so I will simply delete this. And then we're going to add buttons that will allow us to show color across the top. We will do that using a horizontal arrangement, but I'll tell you what, first for the entire screen, let's give it a vertical arrangement. So I'm going to grab vertical arrangement and we'll just drop it on here. That will kind of give us an overall layout for our entire screen. So height, we're going to say fill parent, and width, we're going to say fill parent as well. And okay. Okay, good. Now, on top of this vertical arrangement, I'm going to drop a nested horizontal arrangement, and height automatic, that's fine. Width, fill parent, and okay. And now we're going to put some buttons on it. These buttons represent the different colors that will appear when we touch on the photo and we drag the photo. So we'll grab just 3 buttons, we'll drop them here. Okay, and I know adding this third one can be tricky sometimes. Look like that one went okay though. We'll make the buttons red, green, and blue. So the first one, we'll change the text to red, and to give a visual indication, let's change the background color, which is here at the top. We'll make that red. Okay, so we said red, green, and blue. The second one we're going to make green. Okay, and the background color we're going to change to green. Now remember, if we're programming against something, it's good to give that thing, that widget, a name we're going to remember when we're programming. So we'll call this a green button. Okay. And the red button we'll call red button. Okay. And the blue button, you know where this is going? We're going to call this one blue button. Okay. And naturally we'll change the background color to blue, and we'll change the text to blue as well. Now for width, we could do a trick we've done before where we make them all 30% to kind of give it 30% of the parent, which in this case is the horizontal alignment. 30% will make them look about equal, kind of give it a more uniform look and feel. So let's change them all to 30%. And there we go. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. Now the next thing that we're going to need to do is place a canvas on the screen. So I'll go to drawing and animation, I'll choose canvas, and I'll throw that on the screen. We're going to want to size this one appropriately in just a moment, but first let's also consider that we're going to need a bottom button bar as well. So we'll do one more nested layout, one more horizontal alignment. For this one, height automatic, width fill parent. Okay, and now we're going to throw some buttons on here. We're going to need one for take picture. Okay, and for that one, remember we already have a little icon that we made earlier, so we can just run down here and choose the image, and I see image camera. That'll work. Okay, that's kind of nice. With the image, we no longer need the text, so we'll take the text away, like so. Okay, and then we're going to have wipe or clear, so we'll grab another button. And honestly, if one of the buttons has an image, we should stay consistent. They should either all have images or all have text. we'll give ourselves a little bit of leeway on this one. We're going to mix them up just a little bit. So for the next one, we'll say wipe or clear. So we'll say wipe, that's fine. Okay, and then another button for changing the dot size. So we'll call this one, whoops, we'll call this one big dots. Well, you know what, we could even just make that programmable. Why don't we do that? Why don't we just call it dot size? Okay, we'll say change dot size, something like that. There we go. And then we need a little text box where we can enter the dot size. So it looks like I grabbed a button instead of a text box. I'll fix that right here. So there we go. So for this, I'm going to take the hint away, and we're just going to say dot size. And let's see how that looks. I have a feeling we maybe want to rearrange a little bit of this because it looks like we're going to be off a little bit there. But we'll try it out. Okay, now with all of that set, I'm going to go back to this canvas, and we're going to make it height, fill parent. And we're going to make it width, fill parent. You see what that does is basically we have some kind of static real estate here and static real estate here, and then this consumes the rest of the real estate that's left over, the canvas. And that's really what we want to do. The buttons shouldn't get bigger or smaller as we resize. Just that canvas in the middle should get bigger or smaller as we resize. I'm tempted to swap this change dot size button with the text as well. Let's see how that looks if we can do that a little bit. So we'll move this guy over here, and we can shrink up this text box a bit as well. We have currently width automatic. If I change that to a fill parent, that looks a little bit better. I could probably work with that layout a little bit more, but the idea is basically we put a number in here and then hit change dot size, and that number changes our dot size. As a matter of fact, why don't I say numbers only, so we can change both what we allow in this box, what it validates against, and also the virtual keyboard that's going to come up when we type this box. So I'm going to save. Because I've done a bit of work here, I'm going to go ahead and save my project, and I want to take a look at it. Just one more thing before we take a look, and what it is I want to put an image in this little canvas. So I've downloaded this one of my favorites, which is a magnolia, obviously, in front of the U.S. Capitol building. But there's a lot we can point out here. We have it in bloom. We have some other flowers that are either starting to bloom or have finished blooming or in the later stages of blooming. Then, of course, the Capitol Rotunda in the background. I really like this picture, actually. When did I take it? Spring of 2012. So I've saved that, and I'm going to upload it. And so I'm going to just run over to Multimedia and Upload File. And just a moment. Okay, and this one is Plant Legacy. It kind of has a long name there. Plant Legacy, Magnolia Grandiflora. And OK. Hopefully it'll shorten the name a bit. Maybe not. Okay, we'll give that just a moment. Okay, now I'm going to click on the canvas and background image. We'll go ahead and pick this one with a really long name and choose OK. And let's see, that looks pretty good. Of course, it had to resize it a little bit, but nonetheless, we get the idea of what's going on here. So with this, let's go ahead and preview. Now we see with the emulator up, probably a few more things that we could do, but nonetheless, it looks pretty close to what we designed here with the buttons across the top, the buttons across the bottom, and most importantly, the canvas taking up most of the size. So at this point, we need to think about how we want to make this image editable. Let's start by making a touch event for a dot. Now, first, remember my rule about if you're going to program against it, give it a name, because if I cover up this screen, you don't remember what button 1, button 2, text box 1, button 3 are. Let's change those before I forget. And also the canvas, we're going to rename this to just image canvas or something like that. Okay? Easier to do it now before you've actually started programming against it. Okay, this one we're going to call picture button, or let's call it camera button. Okay. Next one we're going to call wipe button. Okay. Then the next one we'll call dot size text box. You could maybe abbreviate that to txt.size or something like that. And then finally, change.size button. When in doubt, be verbose. Okay, all of that done, I'm going to scroll up and go to Blocks View. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look at that image canvas and take a look at these event handlers, which are these things that are in brown. And you see there's one called Touched. Let's go ahead and grab this one called Touched. And what we want to do is we want to draw a circle. So for that we go back to our image canvas and we are going to get the Draw Circle widget. We'll take this guy and drop him in there where he fits. Okay, center X. This is the tricky part. We're going to get, well, I'll tell you what, I just grabbed the Y, so let me drop that under center Y. We're just going to get the Y position, the Y coordinate. For the X, we're going to get the X coordinate. Okay, now radius, let's go ahead and make a global variable for radius, if you remember how we did variables before. I'm going to say initialize global radius 2. Okay, now I'm just going to come out here and type 5 and hit enter, and that gives me a literal number 5. So drag that up here. Okay, the reason I'm making this a global variable is, remember, we want the ability to change this size down here. So easier to make it a variable now than have to go back and refactor it later. Okay, radius, I am going to go back to variables again, and I'm going to say get, and let's see what we have. Global radius. So we're initializing the variable up here and we're accessing it down here. We're simply saying start a circle at this XY coordinate, and the radius will be this global radius, which we've set to 5. Now I brought the emulator up. Let's see what we get. Okay, you see I click and I'm getting little dots that are black. Okay, so I am getting dots. Now if I drag, nothing happens, but if I click, I'm getting dots. Now with so many colors in this image, naturally, that gives us a justification to use these buttons up here. So let's take a look at how we can change the color of these dots as well. That'll be fairly simple. We just need to get some button click events for our red, green, and blue buttons. So let me grab the red button. We'll grab an event handler for that. Okay, there we go. And the green button, we'll grab an event handler for that. And the blue button, we'll grab an event handler for that. Move this guy a little bit so we can make some room. There we go. And now we're going to say image canvas. And there are quite a few options we have here, quite a few things that we can change. I'll scroll down a bit until we get to these green things. Background color, font size, height, light, line width, paint color, visible, all kinds of stuff. The one that we want is we want to change the image canvas paint color. So we'll grab that, and again we can repeat this. I'll just Control C and Control V, and we'll snap one of those in each of our buttons, and Control V and snap into this button here. Okay, and now we need to give it the appropriate color. So for red, we'll go to colors and we'll pick this little red swatch. There we go. And then for green, pick green. You see, as soon as I do that, this little warning goes away because it realizes that I've completed this thought. And finally, for blue, we pick blue. Okay, and let's see how it looks. So I go back to the emulator, click red. You see wherever I click, now I get a red dot. Shows up a little bit better against the magnolia. That one shows up pretty well no matter where I put it. Green, I click and we're going to get a light green dot. And then finally blue. And we get our blue dots. So it looks like that's working very well. Now just a few more things we need to do to complete this. First, we want to be able to drag and draw a line. We also want to take care of the wipe and the change dot size buttons. First let's do the drag to draw a line. That's going to be very easy to do. So I'm going to go to our canvas again, our image canvas, there we go. Whoops, okay. And we are going to look for a dragged. Here we go, when image canvas dragged. Okay, and then back to image canvas again, and we're going to look for a draw line widget. So I scroll down, scroll down just a little bit. There's draw line. You see we have several others, draw text, get pixel color, all kinds of neat things we can do with this. Let's go ahead and get draw line. And all we need to provide here are the X and the Y values, and guess what? We already have those values, which is what makes them so easy. So the first x is going to be previous x, and the first y, y1, is going to be previous y. Okay, and then we're going to take that to current x. So just mouse over for a moment. Whoops, no, that's fine. Come on. There we go. And current y. And if I can just get him to snap in there just like that, and that looks good. So we'll go ahead and save. And let's take a look. So a little drawing here, you see as I click the mouse and let go, let me change to red so we get a bit more contrast. But you see I click, hold the mouse, drag, and let up, and sure enough, it's drawing lines around my diagram. So if I wanted to highlight something in the original image, like maybe this flower, I could draw a box around it just like so. Okay, now change the dot size and wipe. Wipe will be pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and get an event handler for the wipe button. And so we want the when wipe button clicked. We'll go ahead and grab this. So maybe rearrange things a little bit because we have quite a bit going on here. So move this guy over a little bit. Okay, when wipe is clicked, we're going to go to our image canvas and just say to clear it out. Okay, call image canvas clear. All right, once again, we're going to save. And let's see what happens now. Okay, it cleared out all my dots and took me back to the original picture, which is the Capitol Rotunda with this magnolia. Now if I want, I can drag a little box around this flower, maybe if I want to highlight it. A nice advanced thing to do to this would be to be able to text annotate the photo as well. There are many times I'd like to do that, maybe remember what I was doing at the time or remember what I was trying to highlight. As a matter of fact, that might be a nice app just in and of itself. A way to toggle the camera, get the camera to take a picture and then allow you to annotate it on the spot. When I'm on vacation or when I'm traveling, there are a lot of times I take a picture and I know, oh gosh, I'm taking it because I like this color of marble, or I'm taking it because there's a lizard over there, something like that that wouldn't be very obvious because maybe I didn't, maybe I was just passing and I didn't have time to properly frame the image, but I wanted to capture the moment anyway. So that's where that's really handy. But yeah, so that might be a future add-on to this as well. So, okay, next thing we want is change dot size, which we're going to make the ability to enter a dot size in this box. Now you see, what's interesting now is I'm typing letters on my keypad on my physical keyboard for my laptop, and numbers are coming up because I've limited this to only numbers. So if we said 3 and then we click change dot size, we want the dot size to change to 3. Now that'll be easy to do because of how we set this up. We already made the dot size or the radius a global variable. So now I can come down and I can get my change dot size button. Well, let's get a handler for that. So change dot size and click. Okay. And for this, I'm going to go to my local variable. So I'm going to say variables. I'm sorry, my global variable. I'm going to grab the set. Okay. And let's say global radius 2. Now set it to what? Okay. Well, let's go to our dot size text box and let's get the value from that. Okay, dot size text box dot text. Okay, save. And let's see how we look. Okay, so let me change the dot size to something really big, like 10, because the default was 5. So change the dot size, and now let's see, does that give us what we want? Do we get a much bigger dot than we had before? Okay, we sure do. See, that one's a lot bigger than the old 5 dot that we had before. Okay, let's go ahead and change it again. Let's change it to 20. Actually, what I could do, let's change it to 20. We'll do a blue dot, big blue dot. Okay, let's make it 15. Change dot size. We'll do a green dot inside the blue dot. Okay, that was actually fairly close to center. I didn't think I'd get that one too close to center. And 10, let's see how close I can get this one. Looks like right about there. That one, oh, you know what? I didn't hit change dot size. So let's start over. We can start over, can't we? Okay, let's go to blue, 20. change dot size, boom, big dot. Green, 15, change dot size, and there we go, a little bit off. Red, let's make that one 10, change dot size, and you see that the dot size has been shrinking as I've changed that dot size value. So in this video, we have replicated fairly closely the paint pot application that comes in our textbook for AppInventor. We've changed it for our purpose, though, so that we can edit an image that theoretically we took with the camera. Now, one thing we didn't do this camera button here because we did the camera in a previous video on the GPS of plant screen. And ideally, we want to think that we take a picture on the GPS of plant screen and then we're able to navigate to the edit screen to actually edit the image. But the trick is that the emulator and the camera just don't get along too well. We learned that in our camera video. So we kind of have to fake it out with a pre-canned picture there. But I can tell you that on a device, if you test on a device, typically the camera will work. It's just the emulator just has some trouble getting the camera to work. So that's what we did in this video. Possible enhancements to this, as I mentioned, maybe the ability to click and add text that kind of gives you some notes about the picture. Maybe we can even do that as a separate text field so that we can store those notes into a database. Maybe we'll look at that in a later video. But in any case, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.